Hi, so today I'm going to talk about the many similarities between JFK and Abraham Lincoln, especially concerning their assassination. I'm not going to get into the presidency because those differ more, but it's kind of freaky. There's like a lot of posts about it, and many people have looked into this, but I just thought I'd like show it to you. Some of these have been proven to be false, but still, it's still quite interesting. So let's get into it. Well, first of all, Lincoln, 7 letters. Kennedy, 7 letters. Which, I mean, is not that big of a coincidence, but still, like 7 letters each. It's not like Abraham and John had the same letters, but their surnames did. They were both elected to Congress they were both elected into Congress in 46. Abraham Lincoln was elected in 1846. JFK was elected in 1946. He was elected to Congress through Massachusetts and Lincoln through Illinois. So, completely different states, but still in 46. Then, next part where it gets freaky, Lincoln was elected president in 1860. JFK was elected president in 1960. More of a coincidence. Furthermore, Abraham Lincoln, he married his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, when she was in her 20s. She was 23. And he was in his 30s. He was 33. JFK married Jacqueline Kennedy, or Jackie O, when she was in her 20s, 24, so 1 year older than Mary Todd was, and he was in his 30s, 36. So 3 years older than Lincoln was. But still, a woman in her 20s and a man in her 30s. Still quite freaky, and until this point, it is quite a coincidence, but there's more. There's a bit more to come. Lincoln lost his son William Wallace, quite the name, when the son was 11, during his presidency. I think it was in 1862, if I'm not mistaken, but he was in the White House. So he lost his child in the presidency. JFK lost his son Patrick Bouvier, however you pronounce that, he was 2 months old in 1963, August, while JFK was in the White House. So, also during his presidency. So you have Lincoln losing a child in his presidency, JFK losing a child in his presidency. But wait, it doesn't stop there. When they were both assassinated, Lincoln was he was at the theater. He was here, and his wife was like right here. JFK, he was in the car, and his wife was right here. I mean, not right here. Anyway, doesn't matter. They were both next to their wives. They were both shot right next to their wives, which I guess isn't that big of a coincidence, because they usually want together, the president and the first lady, but still, it's quite, considering all the other things, it does match up. Now, here is where it starts to get a bit wrong. The assassins, they always say assassins. John Wilkes Booth was the guy who assassinated Lincoln. He was, he was known by his 3 names, and they all had between them 15 letters. Lee Harvey Oswald, JFK's assassin, was also known by his 3 names, and they all had 15 letters. Kind of freaky. But it is said that they were both born in 38. Lee Harvey Oswald in 1838. No, sorry. They are said to be both born in 39. Lee Harvey Oswald in 1939. John Wilkes Booth in 1839. However, John Wilkes Booth was born in 1838. So the 3 names thing and the 15 letters thing is all correct. However, John Wilkes Booth was born in 38. Lee Harvey Oswald was born in 39. So not quite. Now here also, they like to point it out, which I don't, it's not really that true. John Wilkes Booth, after killing Lincoln, apparently ran from Ford's theater and was caught in a warehouse. And Lee Harvey Oswald apparently ran from Dealey Plaza warehouse and was caught in a theater. Not quite. John Wilkes Booth he ran from the theater, from Ford's theater, and was caught, but in a barn, not in a warehouse. So that kind of falls apart. Then Lee Harvey Oswald, it wasn't the Dealey Plaza warehouse, it was the Texas School Book Depository where he worked, which kind of acted as a warehouse, but not quite. And he was caught in a theater, a movie theater, but you can excuse that part. That part's okay. But John Wilkes Booth was not caught in a theater. He was caught in a barn. No, he wasn't caught in a warehouse. He was caught in a barn. And Lee Harvey Oswald, he wasn't exactly in a warehouse. Now, here's where it starts to get freaky again. They both ran for president, and prior to their own presidencies, were successful, so ran for vice president, and they didn't win the nomination, but they became runner-up. Both of them. In what year? In 56. Lincoln became runner-up for the Republican vice presidential nomination. In 1856, JFK became the Democratic runner-up for the vice presidential nomination in 1956. So, again, kind of freaky. Then, obviously, they both got assassinated, so that's the important part. They both had a successor, their own vice presidents. Andrew Johnson, LBJ. Both Southern Democrats, which that kind of gets a bit crazy because, I mean, fine, JFK was a Democrat, so his VP would naturally be a Democrat. But Lincoln was a Republican, and his successor ended up being a Southern Democrat, which I'm not going to get into why, but he ended up being a Democrat. From the South, Tennessee and Texas, respectively. And it was crazy how their names had 6 letters. Johnson. They were both named Johnson. Andrew Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson obviously had 6 letters. Also, Andrew and Lyndon, 6 letters. I don't know the middle name of Andrew Johnson, but it could have been the same thing as I forgot what the B stands for in Lyndon B. Johnson. But Lyndon and Andrew, 6 letters. Johnson, like the shampoo, Johnson and Johnson. And they were both born in 08, with Andrew Johnson being born in 1808, and LBJ being born in 1908. So the vice presidential thing is quite, like, the vice presidential succession thing is quite freaky because there's so many similarities there. You can't deny it. They were freakishly similar. Now, more kind of freakishly things, which I don't know. Lee Harvey Oswald, of course, a Southerner from Louisiana. John Wilkes Booth was a Southerner from Maryland. So their assassins were also Southerners. I think the only Northerner here was Lincoln. JFK was Southern. LBJ was Southern. Lee Harvey Oswald was Southern. Andrew Johnson was Southern. John Wilkes Booth was Southern. The only guy who wasn't Southern was Lincoln from Illinois. So They were both concerned with civil rights. Obviously, Lincoln was the whole Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, and JFK, although not the main guy, but he was the first person to advocate for the Civil Rights Act. So which was passed in 1964 after he died, but he was the guy who started the process. So that was quite. They were both advocates for civil rights, which in truth shouldn't be a coincidence because civil rights should be advocated for always. But so especially JFK, that shouldn't really be that noted, but because but he lived in 1960, so civil rights was the movement right there. But Lincoln, it was the whole Civil War thing, the whole emancipation. That was kind of I'm not saying JFK wasn't a big deal, but considering the climate back then, it was. It should be a coincidence, but it kind of was, and it's kind of freaky. So yeah. Then they were both shot in the head on a Friday and died nearby, with Lincoln dying across the street, right in front, and JFK dying across the down the road in a hospital also nearby. Now, the word Ford has been thrown around quite a bit. Ford Theater for Lincoln, and the Ford car JFK was in when he was shot. Which I don't know if this is true, but I've heard it was a Lincoln. Like the car name was a Lincoln limousine. Which if it's actually true, that's kind of freaky. Now here's also a part where it gets people wrong, and I don't know who invented this. I couldn't find the source, but apparently Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy who warned him not to go to the theater, and JFK had a secretary named Lincoln who, the surname obviously, who warned him not to go to Dallas. The JFK part's correct. I think it was Evelyn Lincoln, whose husband was nicknamed Abe, but I don't think that's a big deal because the surname, so that's not important. But Lincoln never had an assistant named Kennedy, and if he did, there's no actual record saying that he had an assistant named Kennedy. So whoever said that either had knowledge that can't be traced back, or just invented it. Who knows? And lastly, John Wilkes Booth, he was assassinated before he could stand trial. Now, it's a bit shady because he was killed before he could actually stand trial. But he wasn't assassinated, he was killed by the sergeant after refusing to surrender. And Harvey Oswald, he was assassinated before he could stand trial again, this time by a nightclub owner on his way to county jail. So that was kind of freaky. So that's pretty much it. It's kind of crazy, like both sides. Like Lincoln and JFK, presidents who lived 100 years apart, had so much in common, both being the two most notable presidents getting assassinated. But like the whole Congress thing and presidential candidature for both of them, and then the successor, that I was really amazed with the successor thing, and the secretary thing, if that would have been correct. I don't think it isn't, but it's just there's no record of a Kennedy serving under Lincoln. But if it was true, damn, kind of crazy. So yeah, I mean, I love presidential history, and this is one of my favorite parts because it's just so many coincidences, and some of them like they were married, they were killed standing next to the wife. That was kind of not that big a deal. The name's kind of a bit freaky. The Friday thing I kind of get because it was Friday night to go to a theater, and Friday a lot of people would be on the streets to receive JFK. So yeah, it's some things are a bit dodgy. Like yeah, there's a coincidence, but is it really a coincidence? And then especially with JFK, there's the whole of the CIA planned to murder him or whatever. I don't know. There's definitely a lot of coincidences which just can't be denied. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. So thank you for watching.